Dr. Lucretia Cook, but you can call me Dr. LaLa. Welcome back to another episode of the Revolve Podcast, where grief and loss are a journey and not a final destination. And so today, I want to talk about something that's a little bit tender for me, and that's pet loss. I have to be honest with you. It's not something that we talk about a whole lot, right? A lot of times with pet loss, and I'm guilty of this myself, people don't often understand the significance that pets may have in our lives. It was something that I wasn't very familiar with until we had to euthanize our senior dog in December. And it was a very, very difficult decision. It was one of the hardest things, one of the hardest decisions I had ever had to make. But she had been sick for quite some time. And there was just this one particular day when she fell and she couldn't get up. And we had to make the hard decision to euthanize her. And so I wanted to talk about it today. Again, it's not something that we talk about a whole lot, and people don't understand the significance of it. But the reality is, pet loss is real grief. And the pain that comes from it can be deep, disorienting. There's definitely a sense of loss there. Because the truth is, our pets are not just animals. They become our companions, emotional anchors, and quite truthfully, witnesses to our lives. Sometimes pets play an integral role in the healing process. I know for myself, our senior dog, her name was Bella. Actually, Bella Angelina Ballerina was her name. And she was a 10-year-old snoodle. And we got Bella after my son passed away. And that was a compromise we had made with baby. Because she was insistent that she needed a sibling. You know, baby brother had passed away, and she was heartbroken. And her dad and I talked about it, and we decided that, you know, having another baby definitely wasn't an option. Because, you know, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, with Judah, I had an emergent event during the emergency C-section. And honestly, trying to have another baby just wasn't a good idea, because I had already had so many challenges. And so we got Bella as a compromise. And so we got Bella after Judah passed away. And then as life does, life happens, and we got Bella in June, and my daddy was killed in a car wreck in September. And so Bella had lived throughout all of the major life transitions that Karis and I have experienced. Bella was a witness to that. She was. It was often me, Karis, and Bella. And again, through the loss of baby brother, the death of my dad, the death of my mom, and then when I went through the divorce, it was always me, Karis, and Bella. And so Bella was very much a witness to my life, to our lives. And so losing her felt like losing a member of the family. Her presence, that source of unconditional love that she provided for us, it was difficult. And I'll be honest, it's still difficult. You know, we miss her. And then we got Karis a puppy for her 13th birthday, and her name is Appa, and Appa still looks for her. She still, when she runs outside, she runs back waiting for Bella, even now, and it's weeks later. And so we feel her loss throughout our family. So losing a pet is very much like losing a part of the family. And that's part of why it hurts so much, because they are family members. They live alongside us. They offer comfort, companionship, emotional safety. You know, for those of you who have pets, you already know, you tell them all of your secrets. They know all the things, and you don't have to worry about it getting repeated. Right? They witness our hardest seasons. Yeah, they sit with us in sadness. They bring laughter in seasons when there's nothing funny. And they are often sources of light in dark times. Your pets aren't just dogs or cats, they're a constant. And so sometimes when you lose them, it's like losing an emotional anchor because they're also a source of stability and comfort and just of home, especially for folks who may not have children or, who seniors who may have lost their significant other. And so they get a pet so that they have company. And so pets play a very significant role in our lives. And for folks who don't have pets, it may be difficult to understand. It may be hard to understand why there is still such a heavy sense of grief and loss when pets pass away. And people say things like, it's not a big deal. It's not like you lost a person. Well, you can just get another dog. You're doing too much. You can get another cat. Pets can be replaced, right? And so the grief that comes from pet loss is something we call disenfranchised grief. And that means that the grief is real, but not socially validated, right? So what you're feeling is a very real feeling, but the people around you might not understand it or be able to validate your feelings. They might not be able to connect with you on that level. And people who've never experienced or people who are not pet people, they may minimize it. And these folks don't mean harm, but it's hard to relate to something that you've never experienced. And so grief is tied to attachment and not a particular category, right? Because we grieve things that we're attached to. That's why we're also able to grieve jobs and dreams deferred and things like that, because we have a certain attachment to those things. And so while they're not real, right, the way we feel about them are. And so if your pet is a companion, a source of comfort and emotional support, or even the one constant in your life, that grief that comes from that is a deep feeling. It's a deep hurt. It's a deep pain. And unfortunately, when it gets minimized, that can bring with it a source of shame and isolation because you feel as though nobody understands and you don't have a place to share it. But there are lots of layers that come with the loss of a pet, a lot of emotional layers. And some of those include guilt, responsibility, shock, emptiness, anxiety, sometimes anger. Because, like I said earlier, we had to make the difficult choice to euthanize Bella. And there is a certain amount of guilt and, just trying to understand, a lot of questioning ourselves. Did we do enough? Did we wait too long? Did we do it too soon? Just like you would any other loved one. Because I know that we did everything we could for Bella. We hand fed Bella. I would cook meals for her. And we did that for almost 2 months, where I cooked her meals every day and I hand fed her for almost 2 months. But when we had to make that decision to euthanize her for her quality of life, I still questioned, did I do enough? Should we have waited a little longer? And despite all the things we did, there was still some guilt there. And so you may be experiencing the same thing or have experienced the same thing if you had to make that difficult choice. And I want you to know it's normal to feel that way. It's a part of loving deeply, right? Because the house feels different now that your pet is no longer there. And sometimes that silence gets really loud. And then also dealing with the grief that you and your family members have. But then if you have other pets, they grieve as well. Appa is about to be 2. Bella would have been 10 this year. And Appa is about to be 2. And she still whimpers. She still looks for Bella. And we're almost 2 months down the line from when Bella passed away. But it's very apparent to us that Appa misses her. Right? And so this grief is very real. And so it shows up just like any other type of grief. Emotionally, there may be tears, anger, numbness. Physically, you may have some issues with your appetite changing. You may be fatigued, restless at night, you can't sleep. Spiritually, there may be feelings of abandonment, feeling as though you don't have anyone there to comfort you. There may even be some problems or some feelings where you feel like God has taken one more thing from you, the one person who understood. Right? Sometimes your relationships within the household, because everybody grieves differently, and so losing the pet may cause a disconnect there because everybody's grieving differently. And so there may be some misunderstandings that happen. And all of those things are normal. And why? Because pets play a significant role in our emotional and spiritual lives. They offer unconditional affection. The love that you get from your pets is pure and uncomplicated and unconditional. They greet us with joy every single time we come home. They sit with us in sadness, and they bring levity to situations that are heavy. They can fill relational gaps when human companionship is limited or inconsistent. And you know, some people even say that dog is God spelled backwards. And of course, that isn't theology, but as a reflection of his unconditional love that pets embody for us. You know? So when we lose that presence, it is losing a source of comfort and stability. And that's okay. You're human. You're not crazy. You haven't lost your mind. It's completely human to experience grief when your pet passes. And so we can find comfort in the scriptures, right? The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. God cares about all living things, all of creation. And he is near even in this loss. And if God can see his creation, if he can see the sparrow, if he can see the bees, if he can see those things and take care of them, then don't you know he sees you and he cares for you too? And if he draws near to the brokenhearted, then he's going to draw near to you too, even in this season. The scripture reminds us that grief, and this is any type of grief, is worthy of comfort. It's worthy of compassion. And it is worthy of the Father's attention, because he cares about the issues of your heart. And so you are not alone on this journey. But in addition to your relationship with the Father and the comfort you find in Scripture, you know, another good place to go? Therapy. And you know, we always going to talk about Jesus plus therapy. Therapy helps to navigate these seasons too, because it helps us to understand why losing a pet hits so hard, why losing that pet is so painful. Going to therapy helps us to process grief. It helps us to normalize the emotional reactions that may come from it and to navigate the relational tension when other people grieve differently. And then in therapy, you can also find support where we can create rituals and rhythms that honor the pets that we have in our lives and to help integrate the loss into your story. Because pets are important parts of our lives. Again, they're a part of the family. And so there are things that you can do to honor your pet and support the healing process. There are things like memorial jewelry, artwork, or portraits. You can keep ashes or fur, memory boxes, planting a tree or flowers. Those are all things that you can do. Piece of jewelry. And these things just help you to remember like they existed. And the love they had for you and the love that you have for them is very real. As they were, like I said, a part of the family, a source of comfort. When you didn't have anybody else, it was a guarantee that your pet was going to be there when you got home. Right? And the most important thing that you can do, give yourself permission to feel how you feel. You don't have to rush it or minimize it and act like it's not a big deal or apologize or try to make people understand. Other people don't have to understand. It's okay if they don't. Because your relationship with your pet, the part they played, the role they played in your life, it mattered. And so it's definitely okay for you to not be okay. But just like with any other life experience, we have to learn how to navigate it. And again, that's where the Jesus plus therapy comes in. Fortify yourself with Scripture and the time that you spend with the Father. And also talk to your therapist or a counselor so that you can work through those feelings. Especially if you don't have any other source of companionship or any other source where you can actually talk through your feelings and have support. Because community is important. Getting help when we need it is important. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek help. You don't have to go on this journey by yourself. And so as we close, I want to encourage you to reflect on what this loss teaches us about love. Just something to consider, something to hold dear. What did your pet teach you about love, presence, or joy? Because I want you to know that your grief is valid and that love was real and that your healing in this space, it matters. Your grief is a reflection of the love that you had for them. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of love. And so be gentle with yourself on this journey and know that you are not alone. And so until next time, keep choosing healing, keep choosing joy. I love y'all. Bye.